Hello, folks, and welcome to the channel. And here I am again with another post on what's going wrong with Britain. Used to be called Great Britain, but no longer. So, institutional racism in the UK refers, and this is the system, is the systematic patterns and structures within an institution that imposes negative conditions on identifiable racial or ethnic groups. It manifests through policies, procedures, and cultural practices that reinforce individual prejudices and discrimination. This form of racism can be both overt and covert, affecting various aspects of society, including education, healthcare, and law enforcement. The term institutional racism was defined in the Macpherson Report as the collective failure of an organisation to provide an appropriate and professional service to people because of their colour, culture, or ethnic origin. I'll get it right in a minute. It can be seen or detected in processes, attitudes, and behaviour which amount to discrimination through unwitting prejudice, ignorance, thoughtlessness, and racist stereotyping, which disadvantage minority and ethnic people. Within the UK, the generation known as Generation Z, the generation also known as Gen Z for short, or the Zoomers, is the generation after the millenniums and before the Generation Alpha. Gets complicated. Generation Z is most frequently defined as those born from 1997 to 2012, currently the 13 to 28-year-olds. This group, in a poll, questioned and identified as 48% of them thinking Britain is racist. 48%, nearly 50%, nearly half of all the youngsters from 13 to 28 think Britain is racist. Where do they get this idea? Islamic countries physically persecute and murder people who are not Muslim. It is even written down for them in their Quran and their hadiths. In India and Nigeria, Christians are persecuted and horrifically tortured and raped and murdered. But for some reason or other, we've got 13-year-olds and up to 28-year-olds believing it's Britain that's racist. It defies all logic. In China, the Chinese government is committing crimes against humanity and genocide by systematically persecuting the Uyghurs. They're a predominantly Muslim and Turkic group. Other religions and ethnic minority groups also face the same persecution, maybe not so hard. But the ideas planted within the heads of Generation Z do not mention real racism. Persecution against religious groups or political leanings. Who is planting these wrongful ideas? Teachers within the educational institutes taking advantage of vulnerable ignorance of the minds of our young ones. Yep. Stalin knew, Adolf Hitler knew, all the dictators know, to rule a nation, to create an empire, control the thinking of the young whilst their minds are developing, and you will have a willing dupes, willing to do your bidding. In the Red Revolution in China, Mao garnered his young Red Army. Hitler had his youth group, the Brown Shirts, an alternative to the Boy Scouts movement, in which he controlled their thoughts, and they became an all-present spy within their own homes. These young Generation Z do not think with rational thought. They do not recognise the vast amount of legal and illegal immigrants into the UK coming to the nation of tolerance and freedom. Why would they come into a nation like Britain if Britain is prejudiced and racist, institutionally racist? They don't think so. They come to take advantage of our society, of our freedoms, which are vastly disappearing, I might add. What the youth of Britain see is a tyranny of removal of statues of our great British heroes being torn down of and they hear from their lectures disclaiming them as slave owners and colonists, neglecting to say that white slaves during this period was going on with an estimated 3 million white slaves taken, that the harems of the Middle East were full of white women made to dance before Arab men, raped and abused until all semblance of refusal was beaten out of them. The USA Navy, the American Navy, was created to protect their merchant seamen from being taken as slaves by the Barbary pirates, who were under the auspices of the Pasha of the Ottoman Empire. None of this history is taught to our youngsters, but is a twisted version promulgated to intervene and interfere with the true reference of our true history. This all adds up to a Marxist philosophy that makes white people feel disgraced and apologetic when we should not be. Britain became a great power of influence through the entire world. It was beneficial to the world. Britain was the first country to outlaw slavery. Britain gave us the Industrial Revolution, the birthright of personal freedom. The Magna Carta was the beginning of giving us the freedom to think and do as we please according to the law. What we've seen is our rights are being eroded by Marxist-leaning socialism. Laws against the actions of free speech, against free association, against free assembly, against the right to write what you think in the internet are all being enacted against us. Even the labels being hurled around by our own Prime Minister, who claimed that those of us in Britain who ask for government public inquiry into the Pakistani gangs are being influenced by far-right misinformation. What misinformation is PM Mr. Keir Starmer suggesting? Is he suggesting that the rape gangs were not Pakistani, not Muslim, not targeting vulnerable underage girls? Is he intimating that the police did act in the interest of those poor, wretched children? Is he suggesting that social workers paid to look the other way when they needed care from the welfare society? I find it frightening that he would say that it's right-wingers, far-right wingers, who ask for an inquiry as to why Pakistani gangs, why Muslim gangs are allowed and were allowed for many, many decades and are still going on now. Don't think it's all over. No, it isn't. Girls are being raped by these gangs and some boys as well. And he's suggesting, well, if we ask for an inquiry, get the police finding out why it's going on, stop it going on, then you're a extreme far-right agitator. What I see is the misinformation is not coming from the far-right, but from Keir Starmer's Labour government administration. And it was covered up. And we know that in Rochdale and Oldham, Telford, the Labour councils, and they knew it was going on. They knew the gang rapes was going on. They did not protect those young girls. They did not protect the young boys being mistreated, abused, sexually abused, raped and tortured and threatened. And he's refused an inquiry. It boggles my mind. So what I want is comments, please. What do you think? What do you think should happen? And please, please, please press the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a penny. It doesn't cost you a cent. It doesn't even cost you a rupee. It's totally free. So press the subscribe button. And if you like these short comments on the news and what's going on in Britain especially, but sometimes in the world, then please put the like button, because it makes me happy. And you want to make me happy. So until the next one, which will be tomorrow, and you, bye-bye for now. Bye.